Hi everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video and for watching. I really appreciate your time and I'm excited to be in front of you today. Today's video is kind of continuing on a trajectory from the previous video. The previous video was all about how to get out of your own way, how to stop feeling bad. I'm not going to use the explicit word. And this one is kind of how to get it all together. And I feel like one of the secret ingredients to actually achieving things that is far less glamorous to discuss is the concept of self-discipline. And let's really understand this word self-discipline, because when we hear this word discipline, we might think of it differently to when it's put with the word self. So self-discipline is really applying a lot of standards to yourself and making sure that even when nobody is around, that you try your best and you do all that you can do. And I feel that self-discipline is absolutely crucial to achieving any kind of success, because you will make the most progress and do the most amazing work on the days when you don't feel like doing it. And that's really what self-discipline is. It's about getting up and doing the thing even when you don't feel like it. I think people have an incorrect view that successful people always feel like getting up and doing drills or practicing their writing or practicing their music. And they're just so lucky because they love to do it and they wake up and they want to do it every day. And I don't believe that is true at all. I believe a part of them loves to do it, but I think probably 75% of the time they don't really want to do it. They do it because they have self-discipline, and over time that pays off and then they can enjoy it. A lot of what I'm going to speak about today is from the book Self-Discipline by Curtis Leone. He's excellent, and a lot of what he says about self-discipline really beautifully wraps up everything that makes it incredibly powerful. And to begin, let's discuss the difference between willpower and self-discipline. So if you've ever heard about willpower, I think it's very similar to motivation. Willpower slash motivation is that little bit of energy you get to get up off the couch and start doing something, start working towards something that you want, some kind of goal. Willpower slash motivation, though, doesn't really last that long. It's that little start to do something. It gets you to engage in some kind of action, but it is short-lived. Self-discipline, on the other hand, is what allows you to exert control over yourself so that you don't constantly give in to instant gratification. It feels good that first time you want to start working on a goal. Let's just use running for an example, because that's something I know about pretty well, right? So the first time I thought I want to get into running, that first day where I want to run, it feels really good because I've got some inspiration. It's new. I have a feeling this is going to be good. It feels good, like I'm making this decision. The next day might be fairly similar. The willpower slash the motivation is still there, but it's not always there. It's self-control that comes in and takes the reins and allows me to choose to go and run, even though that's not what I feel like. Even though it would be much easier just to sleep in on my weekends, to not go and drive to a place where I need to run, and to not actually go ahead and run and to work up my kilometers week by week. And I use kilometers instead of miles. So that's really the power of self-discipline as opposed to willpower, is that it allows you to really control thoughts and feelings that might not be helpful towards your end goal. Because I promise you, anybody who's successful, who has even achieved a goal, they have thoughts and feelings just like the rest of us, that we can't do this, that it would be much easier to give up, that we may not have what it takes. They all have those feelings, but their self-discipline is stronger than that. And again, I think running's a great example of this. You start your run, and for me, especially within the first 2 to 3 kilometers, you want to be anywhere but where you currently are running. Like the first bit, when you start running, you just feel terrible because you're still getting warmed up and you're still getting into the swing of it. And those are feelings and thoughts that don't have to control you. You can control them with the help of self-discipline. So those feelings come, those thoughts come, I feel frustrated, I feel like I don't want to be here, but I push through because I have the self-discipline that my goal is going to direct my actions rather than my thoughts and feelings. Now, author wants to start off really explaining self-discipline by telling you what it might look like when you don't have it, or really painting this picture. And something that I like to apply to it is like this concept of there being a lot of things that are undone. And we as people, we like things to be finished. Like we like a loop to be closed because it makes us feel uncomfortable when things aren't finished. And I'll give you an example. You know, when you were maybe listening to the radio in the car and you get out of your car and that song is stuck in your head for the rest of the day, it's because you likely didn't finish that song and your brain just wants things to be finished. So it's going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it because it didn't finish. And so hopefully that also illustrates to you the importance of us finding comfort and closing the loops on things. And when you don't have self-discipline, you leave a lot of things undone because it takes effort and discipline to actually close the loop on a lot of things. For example, let's say you just ate dinner and you have loads of dishes that have piled up over the last couple of days. The self-discipline thing would be to wash the dishes before you watch the movie and actually really enjoy it. The thing that you probably want to do is just watch the movie and leave the dishes. And so that's what a life without self-discipline looks like, is just leaving the dishes. They pile up, they continue to pile up. You watch the movie, you might not really enjoy the movie that much because maybe in the back of your mind you're thinking about the dishes. If that's not the case, then the next morning you don't feel good because you can see all the dishes are there. It just doesn't make you feel good about yourself. I've always had habits of like trying to close my loops as much as I can, and it makes you feel so much better. Also, you know, if you have work or a project or something to do, you might want to get home and watch some series or do a number of other things before you actually do the work, and you might end up putting it off, and then it doesn't get done and that loop remains unopened. You don't remember exactly how you wanted to do the project or all the intricacies of the work that you wanted to do, and you just rush it and get it done when it absolutely needs to be done. And so again, it doesn't feel as good, and you also don't enjoy the downtime as much if you know you have other things to do. I think exercise is also a good example of this. Like, whilst I respect you need to have your days off to rest and recover, if you know that today was a day where you wanted to go for a run or work out or do yoga or something and you keep putting it off, it just does not feel good because that loop is remaining unopened. So something helpful from this to remember in your own mind is close the loop. Another useful concept around self-discipline that I enjoy is doing the thing now to serve your future self. I think that is really an important piece of self-discipline, is that you do the hard things now, not because it's necessarily what you want to do right now, but you know your future self will thank you. I found that to be a really important part of me being able to have self-discipline, is I know the future me will be grateful for it. And when I do get to that point, I really am. And I really am grateful that I did that. It just takes a whole lot of stress, and it just feels like self-care in a way when you put in the hard work now or do the dishes now so that you can better enjoy the movie or really enjoy the rest of your day off because you got that workout out of the way. And I think that's a different way of thinking about it, because self-discipline can feel harsh and like you can imagine like somebody like screaming at you to do it. It doesn't have to be that way. You can think of it as really strategic self-care. And another thing is, the more that you engage in self-discipline, in other words, you do the things you say you'll do, and when you said you'll do it, you learn to trust yourself. You learn that when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I do close the loop. This is really helpful in the longer term. If you set a goal and you have a good foundation of self-discipline, you will have more trust in yourself to achieve that goal because you've closed the loop or achieved so many micro goals through your self-discipline that you have more faith in your ability to achieve a bigger one. Something else that can be effective with building more and more self discipline that I do want to mention with caution, because I realize that we do have a culture where everybody is pushed to really work hard and sometimes to the point where they burn out. So I just want to caution this. I think there's so much value in living a balanced life and taking downtime when you feel it's right. That said, an effective way to sometimes help you with self discipline is to imagine the effects of not having the self discipline. So, in my case, if I didn't have the self discipline to get up and run, I know I wouldn't progress. I know I wouldn't feel good for the rest of the day. Or if I went on the run and I gave into those initial thoughts that this is hard, I don't feel good, it's too hot, this, and this, I know that the effect of not having self discipline and stopping at that point and turning around, I'd feel frustrated. I mean, I drove there, I got dressed, I went on the run. I just wouldn't feel good knowing that I gave up. I know that the effect of this would mean that it would set me maybe a week back in my mind and where I want to be in building up my kilometers. So, again, I'm putting this to you with caution. Think about what your end goal would look like if you didn't have the self discipline. So, if you want to graduate with amazing results and you don't have the self discipline to do the work and actually study, it's likely you're not going to get those results. And it's likely there's somebody else who will. If you are trying to work really hard for a promotion and you don't feel like working hard or upskilling yourself, it's likely you won't get the promotion. You know you have the potential for it, and I can imagine that won't feel good. And again, somebody else will likely do the things, do the hard work, upskill themselves. So let that be you, choose you. And for anybody who's ever heard about the concept of mantras or affirmations, I know some people might find them a bit airy-fairy and they don't really believe in them. But I'm sure that you can believe in and relate to the impact of the words and the things that you tell yourself and how they affect what you do. So it might not be affirmations in that sense, but if you have negative mantras such as, I hate waking up early, I hate exercising, I'm not good at this, those are mantras that are going to pull you back. They're going to take away from your self discipline, and you're really not going to enjoy what you're doing. I know it's easier said than done, but if you at least pay attention to the things that you tell yourself when you're doing the work towards a goal, and you notice that they're very negative and they have a tendency to pull you down, do what you can to reframe them or at least stop them in their tracks, because it's a lot easier and more enjoyable, for example, to go on a run when you tell yourself, I can do this, this is hard, but I can do hard things, versus this is so hard, I'm so unfit, I'm not feeling good. And reframe any negative thoughts that you have in a way that feels authentic to you. So for me, saying I can do hard things really is authentic to me and it makes me feel good. I don't know really where I got it from, but it's not like I copy and pasted it because everybody else was doing it. I just really tapped into what would I rather be telling myself than this negative thought, and I worked towards replacing it so that at least I could feel like I supported myself in achieving my goal. Lastly, once you understand why you want to have self discipline and in what area, and you know what your victory in that area looks like, even if it's vague, that's totally fine. Now is the point where you think about the action steps of getting from where you are to where you want to be. And I have another talk on atomic habits. I think that's probably the best resource to work towards a certain goal. So definitely click on that video if you would like to. And that's going to help you set up some really incredible habits to help you achieve your goals, and importantly, some easy habits. If you don't have the time to watch that video, my biggest piece of advice would be to make it so easy that it's almost a joke not to do it. So make it so easy and so doable that you have no excuses. You can do it because you've made the barrier to entry so low towards that habit. And then the more you do it, you can build it up. But there's no pressure to start off huge. In fact, that's the worst thing you can do, because it's very likely that you will give up or not even get started. And also just think about, you have one goal in mind or an area where you want to be self-disciplined. really break it down into tiny, tiny steps. And a helpful question for this is, what could you do in the next week that would bring you one step closer to your goal or being self-disciplined in an area that you want to be? Thank you so much for watching the video. I really enjoy talking about this topic. As you can probably tell, I feel very inspired by it. I think that self-discipline can sound scary and it just doesn't seem alluring compared to like goal setting and motivation and being inspired and all those great things. However, I feel like self-discipline is a crucial ingredient to achieving anything that you want. And I also think that it doesn't have to be as harsh as maybe some people's perspectives are. I think self-discipline is a crucial step in believing in yourself and caring for yourself and setting the foundation for a future that you'll be really proud of. So that's the way I like to see it, and it's really helped me achieve a number of things. If you would like help in the area of self-discipline and you feel like it might be even more helpful to have something like an accountability partner, do reach out to me down below. I'm leaving some of my details that you can reach out, because entering something like a coaching process really allows you to be guided towards the path of self-discipline until you have that ability all on your own. Thanks again. Bye.